You're welcome to Basic Science and Technology class for Jss1 students. I am your teacher and I'm by name Mr. Achegwelu Joinwajo David, and I'll be taking you throughout this course. The topic before us is drug abuse. But before we begin, I want to state the objectives of the lesson. After the class, the student should be able to do the following. First, should be able to define or explain what drug is all about. Second, the student should be able to define or explain the concepts of drug abuse. Third, the student should be able to state at least 4 effects of drug abuse. And lastly, the student should be able to state at least 4 uses of drug to humans. So let's look at the introduction. What are drugs? Drugs are substances that are used to cure illness. It can change the way the body feels or works. Drug helps in changing body system and functions from abnormal to normal. Now, what this simply means is this, that when the body is abnormal, when the body functioning is low or does not function normally, the use of appropriate drug, will help to bring the body into normal functioning. So that is what drugs are. You can see in this display pictures of various drugs. Let us look at drug abuse. Most times when they talk about drug abuse, people tend to think that drug abuse is just about taking hard drugs such as alcohol or drugs that enhance performance. But drug abuse goes beyond that. Drug abuse is the taking of drugs without doctor's prescription. That's simply what drug abuse is, the taking of drugs without doctor's prescription. And this actually has many adverse effects. What we can see here, displayed on our screen, is that the doctor is giving prescription. But we can see the pictures below that the drug users are ready to take as many as they want. They are not ready to follow the drug that was the prescription of the doctor. So drug abuse is taking of drugs without doctor's prescription, and it is very, very dangerous. Now, let us look at the effects of drug abuse. Earlier, I told you that drug abuse is taking in of drugs without the prescription of a doctor. Now, I told you that it has lots of adverse effects. We are going to be looking at each of the effects one after the other. I will try to make an explanation towards it. The first effect of drug abuse is sickness. Now, sickness is impairment of physiological function affecting all parts of an organism. An impairment of physiological function affecting all parts of organism. And drug abuse leads to sickness. So that is one of the effects of drug abuse. The second one I want us to see is mental disorder. Now, a mental disorder person has the brain affected. The nerves in the brain is already affected. Here, individual thought pattern is affected in such a way that he or she thinks and acts abnormally. So, if drug abuse can lead to mental disorder, is one of the effects of drug abuse. We'll look at the 13 we have on my slide here, that the effect of drug abuse is depression. Now, depression is a sad feeling of inadequacy. Most times, those who take drugs, who abuse drugs, they tend to be depressed. And in some instances, that depression could further lead to situation of suicide. So, effect of drug abuse is depression. Now, let's look at the 14 I have on my slide here on the effect of drug abuse. Another effect of drug abuse is increase in crimes. Increase in crimes. I want to talk about increase in crimes. We are referring to criminal activities such as raping, robbery, and other forms of violence. They seem to be on a high among drug abusers. So another effect of drug abuse is increase in crimes. The rate of crime among drug abusers is very, very high. Another effect, which is the 5th on my screen here, is infertility. Infertility. Now, this is the inability for people to give birth or to bring forth their offspring. Now, for the males, a male who is a drug abuser, the effects it can cause in this case is that the male may not be able to impregnate a woman. Now, on the part of the affected females, they may not be able to conceive easily. So, the number 5 effect of drug abuse I have on my screen is infertility. Lastly, we're going to look at the last effect of drug abuse that I have written down here on my screen is school dropout. What do I mean by this? Now, because of inability to focus, because most drug abusers find it difficult to focus and to learn. So such inability to focus and learn may cause many drug abusers to drop out of school. So these are the 6 effects of drug abuse that I have laid down for you. The first one is sickness. It causes sickness. The second one is it causes mental disorder. The third one is that it can lead to depression. The fourth one is that it causes increase in crimes. The 5th one is that it causes infertility. And the 6th one is that it can lead to school dropouts. All right, we are going to look at the uses of drugs. The uses of drugs. Now, the first thing I have here is that drugs are used to cure sickness and diseases. That's the first one. Drugs are used to cure sickness and diseases. The second thing here is that drugs provide food supplements such as vitamins. Drugs can be used to provide supplements, especially in the case of vitamins. The third thing I have about the uses of drug is that it's used to relieve pain. Drugs are used to relieve pain. The fourth thing here is that drugs are used to save life. They're used to save lives. Another one, which is the 5th one I have here, is that drugs can be used to induce sleep. drugs can be used to induce sleep. Then the sixth thing I have here is that drugs are used for relaxation. Drugs are used for relaxation. And the seventh thing, which is the last I have on my list here, is that drugs are used to prevent diseases or sicknesses. Now, if you look at the first thing I said earlier on and the last thing I said, they look the same, but they are not. The first one, I said that drugs are used to cure sicknesses and diseases. And the last thing I said is that drugs are used to prevent diseases and sicknesses. Now, for the first thing that was said about curing, to cure means that particular thing has already come and you want to remove it. Like the sickness is already available and you want to remove it. So that is when you use drug to cure. But the last thing I said here, to prevent disease or sicknesses. In this case, you use drugs so as to avoid sickness or disease from even coming. And in this case, food can serve as drug. All right, so these are the uses of drugs. All right. Good day, my lovely students. In order for you to be able to understand more about this topic, I would like you to carry out this activity that I've laid down for you. I want you to pay a visit to the nearest pharmaceutical store close to your home and ask the chemist or the pharmacist that operates there to show you at least 2 pain-relieving drugs in their store. They should show you at least 2 pain-relieving drugs that they have in their store and write the name down. This will help you to understand more about drugs. Before we end this lecture, I would like you to write down the assignments and try as much as possible to do it so you can have a better understanding of the topic. State 2 effects of drug abuse other than the ones mentioned earlier in the course of the lesson. You are free to consult your textbook, you are free to consult internet, or ask your parents for guidance. Thank you for listening.